Hey, good morning, Shabbat Shalom. So I really don't like Tisha B'Av. Now, by the way, I don't know anyone who likes it. It's like, oh, good, when's Tisha B'Av this year? And who's making Tisha B'Av? Like, so nobody likes it. But there's an aspect of it that I have always resented. Why do the victims fast? Why do the people who are oppressed fast? Why aren't the Babylonians and the Persians fasting? Why aren't the Romans? Anyone know who the first people to expel the Jews from Europe were? The English, 200 years before the Spanish. They ought to be on that list too, by the way. Why isn't the axis of evil fasting? Why aren't they sitting in the pain? And I read something from Rabbi Alan Liu of blessed memory just this past week, which was actually very helpful for me. And what he pointed out is that there are 49 days between Tisha B'Av and Rosh Hashanah. 49 days. And that really struck me, because if you think about what else is 49 days, that's the time period between Passover of Pesach and Shavuot, the giving of the Torah. That Pesach is the beginning of our physical liberation and going to the Torah of how we are going to live our lives. That the time period between Passover and Shavuot is about thinking about what we do in the world. But this got me thinking that the time period between Tisha B'Av and Rosh Hashanah is about how we manage our inner lives. Pesach is about the outer to a large extent. This period of time is about our inner lives. How do we manage our pain, both the pain that we have experienced and the pain that we have caused? And I would argue that those people who have caused pain over the centuries, over the millennia, who have never reflected on what they have done, they never break the cycle of oppression and hatred. And we still see, if you know your history, the Babylonians are the ones who destroyed the first Holy Temple and sent us into exile. Who are we dealing with literally today? These things have cycled, and they have not been able to break their own cycle of causing pain in the world. Tisha B'Av asks us not to do something, but actually to sit with our pain. We sit on the floor or sit, or just sit in any way we can on Tisha B'Av to remember both the pain we have experienced and the pain that we have caused, because that is the path of our spiritual liberation. Very often we think that the way to free yourself is just to deny pain, just to act like everything's okay. Judaism says that the path of emotional and spiritual liberation begins with sitting with our pain. Again, Passover is about getting up. Tisha B'Av is about sitting. And one of the psalms that's most associated with Tisha B'Av is Psalm 137, By the Rivers of Babylon. You may know that as a song. The Melodians did it in 1972. The movie The Harder They Come, which you should watch at some point. But a lot of people don't know that By the Rivers of Babylon is actually a psalm. Al Naharot Bavel, Gam Yashavnu, Gam Bechinu, Bizochrenu et Zion. By the rivers of Babylon, and this was the beginning of our exile, we sat and we cried, and we remembered Zion. Right? The temple was destroyed by the Babylonians in 586 BCE. Zionism began 585 BCE with the dream of the return to Zion. Didn't start in the 19th century. It started 2,800 years ago, or 2,600 years ago. But the phrase bachinu, yashavnu uvachinu, we sat and we cried and we remembered. And we remembered what happened to us, and we're in pain. And we don't deny that pain. That's why we sit Shiva. And that's why we have people around us. We sit Shiva to own that the pain is real because we loved the person, because we cared, or the pain is real because they were challenging. But Judaism doesn't say you run from the pain, you sit with the pain. And then Psalm 137, it says, V'lo a'aleh et Yerushalayim al rosh simchati, that if I don't keep Jerusalem in my memory at my happiest time, that I am not fully myself. That in the midst of that pain, in the midst of that suffering, there is always the dream of redemption. But we have to sit with it, and we sit with what we experienced. But we also sit and try to think about what is it that we did that may have caused other people pain, either on purpose or inadvertently. If you are a human being in relationship of any kind with another human being, you have created a challenge. Anyone who says that another person never ever bothers them, or that you never bother anybody else, you ain't paying attention. It's just part of human nature. We're all individuals, nothing's perfect. And part of the beauty is that we're very different, but that's part of the challenge as well. But we sometimes don't realize how much our actions really have consequences. And there's a very famous passage in the Talmud, which was written under Roman occupation, is that there was a man who had a very close friend named Kamsa. It's a very famous story in the Talmud. This is when rabbis go, stop me if you've heard this one. Okay, so there's man has a friend named Kamsa. He has an enemy named Bar Kamsa. Well, he's having a party. They send out invitations, and Bar Kamsa gets the invitation instead of Kamsa, and he shows up at the party. He's very excited to be at the party. And the man goes, what are you doing at my party? And he said, I got an invitation. By the way, this is the nightmare of everyone planning a wedding. And Bar Kamsa is like, can I just have a bite to eat? I'm here, I'll pay for the whole thing. And the man says, no, I hate you, you've got to leave the party. And everyone around them are like, dude, you got to go. And he leaves with great humiliation. And it's a bad enough story just with that. However, Bar Kamsa goes to the Romans, and he says, if you send those people an animal to be sacrificed, they're going to refuse to do it, and you'll see that they actually don't acknowledge you as the emperor. And that's what the Romans did. Now, according to the strictest of Jewish law, you're not really supposed to sacrifice the animal that a foreign government sends to you for religious purposes. But everyone was saying, look, if we don't do it, the Romans are going to murder us. But the rabbis there said, no, it's a violation of the law to do it, and we're not going to do it. And according to the Talmud, this was the beginning of the real exile. And it says that because of the insistence of people demanding their dignity and never caring about the dignity of others, that eventually we were brought into exile. So I think these two passages are very powerful. Yeah, the one is we sat with the pain we experienced, but never gave up our dream of return, which has come true. But the other is to pay attention to, are we actually more concerned about what we believe our dignity needs? Are we so strict about what we think religious needs are that we're willing to put other people in danger? And that, to me, ultimately what Tisha B'Av is. By the way, if you have any kind of medical concern. You should not be fasting. You're not allowed to. If your doctor said you are not supposed to fast and you fast, you're actually violating the holiday. All right, I want to be very clear. You are not allowed to put your health in any kind of danger, but we can still use the day to sit and think about how do we impact the world, what pain are we really holding that we need to address. The pain tells us that something needs to be different within us, and how do we go on that path? And so I'm hoping that we really think about Tisha B'Av as the beginning of our redemption and not just the commemoration of our exile, and that we look at it as the path to our true freedom and liberation for Rosh Hashanah. Shabbat Shalom.